Introducing WWE 2K25.
Few sports feel more primed for the whole being a video game thing than professional wrestling, but it's also kind of a weird pairing when you stop to think about it. While undoubtedly a feat of athleticism, the WWE is more akin to an elaborately choreographed fight sequence in a movie than it is an actual competition, whereas the goal of the games, based on it, is to fight to win. But inherent contradictions aside, I can confidently say that WWE 2K25 is pretty grand. That's thanks to its much improved showcase and MyRise modes, several smart additions like intergender matches, reliable staples like WWE Universe and MyGM, and generally great game feel. There is a new guy on the undercard called The Island, and he sucks, which drags the whole thing down a little, but not enough to get me to stop watching. WWE 2K25's got an absolutely stacked roster, whether you're here for classics like Bret Hitman Hart, wrestlers turned movie stars like Dave Bautista and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, megastars like Stone Cold Steve Austin, or weirdos like Doink the Clown. I also appreciate that there are several versions of the same dudes from across their history in the WWE. Why yes, I do need a handful of Triple H's, each with their own different stats. Thank you! This granularity is great, and what's better is that you can edit just about every aspect of these wrestlers, from how the crowd reacts to them to altering their stats and moves. The ability to tweak individual wrestlers is not new, but as this roster gets bigger, it's good to be reminded of how impressive it all is. WWE 2K25's in-ring action doesn't deviate much from WWE 2K24, which is one of those if it ain't broke, don't fix it deals, but it does include the welcome return of chain wrestling. This is a minigame that mostly takes place early in the match, where you advance through, or fight to get out of, a series of increasingly impressive holds and maneuvers before landing a signature move or finisher to wrap things up. The system can be a little confusing initially, as you have to move the analog stick around in a circle to find a sweet spot before your opponent does, but once you learn it, it's a neat addition that replicates some very cool, complex moments in pro wrestling. The only bummer here is that it's generally relegated to the beginning of a match and extremely situational at any other time. I've also really enjoyed the new match types. Intergender matches aren't functionally different beyond you may have a dude and a lady in the ring at the same time, but it's cool that you can do that now, and I, for one, enjoyed having Rhea Ripley fight Kevin Nash.
To try and close the casket, and finally it's over!
I can say similar things for the underground matches, which are a little bit more like a traditional fighting game, and the more chaotic Bloodline rules bouts. These additions are fun in and of themselves, and match variety can make or break a game like this, so more is good. Speaking of good, this year's showcase mode follows the Bloodline, and the Anoa'i, Fatu, and Maivia families. Paul the Wise Man Heyman hosts the thing this year, and he's clearly having a very good time, chewing the scenery and providing the backstory that explains who the players are and why these matches are significant. There's a lot of archival footage here, as in years past, though the problem of awkwardly blurring out some folks' faces persists. Regardless, Showcase feels better than last year's version, partially because we've got full ring entrances and the mid-match commentary is really excellent for every fight.
Before this match, I was talking to Helmsley, and he said he can beat the snot out of this Maivia kid in less than 10 minutes.
A fun twist this time around is that you're sometimes asked to change the outcomes of matches that members of these families lost in the real WWE storyline, or create new what-if matches entirely. There are also no longer any cuts to match footage that interrupt your gameplay, with big moments recreated in-game instead. There's something to be said for showing what happened through archival footage, but this change means that matches now play out more organically, even if you're not following the checklist. It's a net positive overall, and I had a blast doing things like beating the ever-loving snot out of Hulk Hogan with Yokozuna, or pitting High Chief Peter Maivia against George the Animal Steele in a cage match. The optional in-match objectives, especially timed ones, can be irritating. Yeah, I get that in the real match, X wrestler might have done Y thing so many times in quick succession, but recreating that in-game means hoping that the computer doesn't pull a reversal, or we don't get caught in a you hit me, then I hit you, and then you hit me until one of us screws up minigame. At that point, you're better off restarting the match. It's still worth doing these optional objectives because of the rewards, like new wrestlers and arenas, but man, some matches are easier than others in ways you'll feel. The other standout mode is MyRise, where your impressively customizable character battles an infiltration by NXT superstars who are trying to take over the WWE and be the last brand standing. In my run, my bold and brash technical wrestler teamed up with his comedic and fun ex-girlfriend to fight back against the invasion. The voice acting is questionable in MyRise.
I'll gather up some mandrake root, practice my chanting. I bet I can find a crystal ball. All the witchy stuff.
But the scenarios are goofy fun that alternate between this is a business that combines soap operas and combat sports and we're going to approach it like that, and this is serious business with alarming frequency. But it's fun to make decisions that change the flow of what happens, and it's cool that you can re-import your characters to start again fresh and make different choices. The MyGM and Universe modes also return, with a couple of nice additions. MyGM is online now, which is great for those who want to compete against their friends to book the best shows.
Online!
And Universe finally gets the long-awaited return of promos. Universe is more my bag, as I prefer to run with a single wrestler. I've already made Randy Orton the WWE Undisputed Champion, because RKOing people is even more fun when you have a belt that says, "Look at me, I'm great." But if you're looking to book matches across the WWE, you can't really go wrong with either option. MyFaction is also back, and look, it's a card game, okay? You collect wrestlers and do challenges or compete against other players so you can get new cards, and watch the shiny pack opening animations designed to make your brain produce dopamine, and Jesus Christ, I'm tired just describing it. Please end my misery. It's Ultimate Team but wrestling, and it's designed to separate you from your hard-earned cash. The challenges can be fun, and I imagine if you're really into this kind of thing, you'll enjoy WWE 2K25's version of it, but I'm not, and the more I play modes like this, the dirtier I feel. So when I say that MyFaction makes me feel sparkling clean compared to the island, yeah, that should tell you something.
We just witnessed the full and total impact of the Grayson Waller effect.
There's a cool idea somewhere in this new mode with God King Roman Reigns inviting you to an island to compete for a WWE contract by earning his favor, but the actual execution made me want to walk straight into the sea. Like NBA 2K25's The City, the island is a big, open, PvPvE space, but it's mostly quiet, empty, and boring, filled with single-player challenges that are bookended by static JPEGs and text boxes that get old fast. Meanwhile, the multiplayer in this mode exists to do one thing: part people from their money, particularly whales who will spend inordinate amounts to make their customized wrestlers beasts off the bat. I didn't want to spend long here, as it feels like it exists solely for 2K's shareholders. It also makes me worry WWE 2K as a series might incorporate more of this in the future at the expense of everything else that makes these games great. But even the island wasn't enough to ruin my fun with WWE 2K25, because everything else about it is great. Visual Concepts deserves their flowers for proving that an annual sports game can feel excellent to play and look good year over year. The WWE series has always been a looker, but this iteration has managed to make things noticeably prettier than ever. Bruises, blood, and sweat are more realistic, and you can tell how long a match has been going, who's winning, and where the guys in the ring are taking the most punishment at a glance. It's really impressive.
Now positioned onto the top rope.
A couple of microtransaction-fueled missteps aside, WWE 2K25 is really the best wrestling game since WWE 2K24, which is also pretty great. It looks fantastic, still feels good, and there's a lot of it, including small but welcome updates like intergender matches, or bigger updates like the new MyRise and Showcase modes. It's an upscale wrestling buffet, if you will. It's pretty scrumptious. There's a wide selection of dishes on the table, and you could spend an awful lot of time in that squared circle if you're not careful. Speaking of, I need to get back to it. I have some more Showcase things to unlock, Universe is calling my name, and, well, you get the idea.
RKO out of nowhere.
For more, check out our reviews of PGA Tour 2K25 or Tokyo Extreme Racer. And for everything else, stick with IGN.